Welcome to the Connor's Corner segment of Ask the Lawyer. You know, a few weeks ago, I ran into our old friend Tom Monahan, and he was talking about the Legatus Summit that's coming up the end of January in Naples, Florida. And he was all excited, and he says, you know what, we got Dion there coming to the summit. And I said, really? And so then we reached out, and we got him here right now on Connor's Corner. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Mike. I'm great. I love Tom Monahan, good guy, does a lot of good work. I'm looking forward to that because I got so many friends that are going to be there that I haven't seen in ages, like Ralph Martin, a few other guys. But I love that guy.
Okay, no, he does such great work all around the world. You know, you can't even list them all.
It's going to be fun being there. I'm looking forward to it.
What are you going to be talking about? What songs are you going to be singing there?
Well, you know, I like to do a mixture of stuff. You know, we always serve up the hits because. You know, those guys will enjoy it. They'll enjoy hearing The Wanderer and Ruby Baby and a few others, you know, do Abraham, Martin, and John. But then I like to sit down with a few of my guys and, you know, just do like a living room set, you know, maybe talk to the people and do something on the acoustic guitar. And I have like about 4 albums out that I did a lot of, a couple of them have been up for Grammys. They're like acoustical blues albums. So I like to do some of that. And we have a lot of fun, you know. Mix it up. Tell some stories about how some of the songs were written or, you know, how they came about.
You want to give us a story right now? One of the songs and how it came about?
Well, for instance, I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. You know, like I grew up in the Bronx, across the street from George's Bar in Little Italy, you know, near Mount Carmel Catholic Church. And, you know, a lot of the wise guys would hang out on the corner there. You know, they had the chains and, you know, and so... You know, gangster types, you know, the bad guys. So, you know, they impressed me as a kid, you know. So when I was a teenager, I put together The Wanderer, you know, to kind of, you know, write a song about a character that was bigger than life, you know, who had tattoos and all that kind of stuff. But that theme kind of reemerged as I moved forward, as I got older. Like in the 80s, I put together a song called King of the New York Streets. Same song, but, you know, from a little different perspective. And now this year I put out an album called New York Is My Home. And on that album is a song called Gangster of Love. Again, it's The Wanderer kind of updated, but the theme, there's something inside me that wants to like write about those characters all the time, you know, and you see it from a little different angle. So, you know, so I'll probably do that song, you know, just to have fun with it because it's one of my favorite songs on the new album, you know. You're
growing up in Little Italy in the Bronx. What's your first big career break? How does it get going?
Well, you know, at that time in the 50s, there were these, which I didn't know, but there was a songwriter in my neighborhood who knew of 2 guys that started a record company in Manhattan. And he actually made an appointment for me to go down there. And I was hanging out with this guy, Willie Green, a black guy who was a janitor of one of the tenement buildings in the Bronx. And he was teaching me all kinds of songs. I went, and he said, go down there, just be yourself, do what you do. Let's sing what you sing on the stoops here up in the Bronx. I said, okay, so I went down there. And evidently they were impressed, you know. I sang a couple of, I think, Carl Perkins tunes or Fats Domino's song. And they were really impressed. You know, I put my own spin on it. And they said, go get your parents. We want to sign you. They needed confirmation. So I started out with this little company called Laurie Records in Manhattan in 1957. And then they, one thing led to another. They wanted a group sound. And I went back to the Bronx and recruited guys from the street corners that I knew they were the best singers in their particular neighborhoods. And rounded them up, brought them down. And we called ourselves Dion and the Belmonts. I kind of named it after Belmont Avenue. And we started with songs like I Wonder Why. That was the first song the group ever recorded, or the first hit we had.
Everybody knows Dion and the Belmonts. How long were you guys together?
We were together a very short time, not even 2 years. It's amazing, the impact that we had. But I think it seems longer because when we broke up, when we split, I recruited another group from the West Side up on 92nd Street in Manhattan. They were called the Del Satins. I heard them singing on a street corner one night. And I brought them up, and I kept that group sound when I recorded The Wanderer and Runaround Sue and Ruby Baby and all those other songs. So that group sound, I think people just identified it with Dion and the Belmonts. So, but we made an impact. They were great singers, guys that I worked with. They were really humbled me.
You still keep in touch with them?
Well, there's only Angelo DeLeo is the only one that is still living. And I don't keep in touch with him much. No, he lives in Long Island. Great guy. He'll make you a plate of spaghetti every time you drop by. But we're good friends. We talk now and then. I do keep in touch, but we don't see each other that often.
Obviously, you've had a long career. I guess everything was smooth and easy, and you had no problems in your life.
Well, life is great, and I love my life, but not without challenge. We all know that. So, and that's what the things that make you strong, and that's when you grow. So those times are necessary.
You're listening to Ask the Lawyer with me, Mike Connors. Our guest is Dion. We're going to take a short break and be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the Connors Corner segment of Ask the Lawyer. We've been talking to Dion, and we've been going over his career. And you were about to tell a story about, some of the problems that you had in your life.
Well, Mike, everybody has problems, but I started out with, I don't know, I was a kid in the Bronx, on the street corners in a gang, the Fordham Baldies, and we started, there was, it was a crazy time in my life, and drugs came into the neighborhood. I got caught up in that with the gangs, but then I started getting hit records, and I was passionate and very focused and driven, and success is like a narcotic, and that became my drug. It was like I wanted that drive to succeed, to be number one, to be better, to be, it was something that was driving me because of, some of the things I experienced in my family. You experience being maybe belittled or, demeaned, or you don't feel, so you fight, to win. And so that drive was on. I had that drive ever since I was a kid. You start, the drive for number one, and the hits kept coming. I got like 12 gold records on the wall, made a couple of $1 million in my early 20s, and for a kid from the Bronx whose parents were paying $36 a month rent, that was winning really big, and went on tour and like doing these worldwide tours with Chuck Berry and Little Richard and the Everly Brothers, Roy Orbison, Jerry Lee Lewis. We were like rocking. I was having a ball. And but then the drugs kept seeping in. It's progressive. It's a progressive thing. It doesn't, you don't back off it if you're like me. So it got to the point where it grabbed me, and I said, I gotta stop this. And now I'm talking about the mid '60s. I'm thinking, I gotta stop this. This is not going to work. This is, the irritable, restless, discontent. It was like a soul sickness, you start blaming everybody. And this is the way you do life when you're using drugs or drinking, and drinking. And you start getting into this kind of, attitude. And I was lost. And I said, I got to stop this. And that's when the fear came in, because I couldn't stop. It was impossible. I just couldn't stop. And one night I met a guy. He said, "You need to find God. God will solve your problem." I'm thinking, what's he talking about? I don't know what he was saying. He said, "You better get on your knees and ask God for." That's a good That's humbling position to be in. Just get on your knees and ask God for help. And Mike, I know this might sound simplistic, but I got on my knees. I said, God, I need your help. If you're real, help me. When I got up, I was changed. I mean, God touched me. I haven't had a drug or a drink since that day. It's been like 48 years. So, I knew, I became aware of God's power. And then soon after that, I became aware of his reality, because I wanted to grow along those lines, And, I went to a 12-step spiritual recovery program, which is very based in the disciplines of St. Ignatius of Loyola, if you read the history of this stuff. And, I started, those 12 steps position you to receive. So they're designed to lead you into union with God. And as you know, God created us in such a way only to work well when we're in union with him. So I met a guy who said, Dion, the most courageous thing a man can do is open his heart to God. So I said, I'm open. He said, well, you ask him anything. So I asked him all kinds of things. I got to the point, I said, God, is Jesus your son? I mean, I thought, I believe in God. Let me ask him. He's, because I didn't believe anybody. I distrusted everybody. But I got an answer one day, I mean, I had a brilliant, sudden, just profound conversion experience. I don't know what to call it, a spiritual awakening. I've never been the same. That's all I could tell you. I haven't had a drug or a drink. It kept my family together, my marriage. I've been married 53 years. So I'm good to go with God, and I stay with him. I keep that focus. I love the church. My family and I, we go to church. We love it. It's the center of our lives, And what else you want to know, Mike?
Well, that's a pretty, in 6 minutes, you gave us a pretty deep story there. When you were growing up, were you going to church? Was that part of your family tradition?
My parents weren't religious, although when I was a kid, my father would bring me to Mount Carmel Catholic Church in the Bronx, and I loved Monsignor Pedernacone. He was like a great guy, a saint in the making, and I loved that guy. So we would go there, but I'm talking about when I was a child. I mean, like 4, 5, 6, and we would sit in the back of the church on the third tier. It was like where the organ was, because my father had a friend who played the organ. But when the organ player died, my father never went back to church. It was just, he would sit up there with the organ player. That was it, Uh, I don't know. My parents were never really religious. Um Maybe that was a good thing. It was. I can't say it was a good thing for the family, but maybe when I had to make that choice, it was a good thing because I was like an open. I was just open because I didn't know anything. I really did not know anything. It kind of washed over me as a kid, but didn't understand the faith at all. I don't know if a lot of people do. Uh, Even Catholics, I think I don't know if they understand it, but it's the most beautiful, truth is beautiful. And the church is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's precious. It's wonderful. It's, if you're in the middle of it, but if you're outside kicking and screaming and, yelling at it, you don't know what you're doing. Forgive them. They don't know what they do. But I was one of them, so I understand it. I get it.
That's a pretty enlightening story. Changing the subject completely, what are you doing now? What are you doing professionally?
It's an amazing thing. Today, I feel more creative and relevant than I did when I put the Wanderer out and Runaround Sue and the Abraham, Martin, and John. And being we were talking about God, I think it's because God's in my life. Without him, I'd be a raging lunatic. I wouldn't have any harmony in my soul. I wouldn't have any, I don't think any, just peace. Peace. And I don't think I'd have any serenity at all. But he gives me great peace. And that's where all the creativity comes from. I mean, he's the one he's a pretty creative God. The sun comes up every day and sets, and it's always different. So I serve a very creative God, and I think he keeps me on my toes, and I thank him for the gift of music and a good mind, a good brain, and I'll stick with him, I think he's the fulfillment of all desire. There's a lot of people, I got a lot of friends and people in the business. They just try to, I guess, define themselves or find relevance in wealth, pleasure, power, and honor. And it's very unsatisfying. I mean, not that those things are bad. We're not Puritans, we're not, but God has to shape your desire for those things, that money, the pleasure, the honor, especially honor. I had a problem there, people have the need to be right and want to win and be better, and they're always struggling. But God puts your heart at rest and you feel at home. So I feel like he gives me my worldview, my perspective on things. I have more to write about today than I ever had. So I'm still creative. That's the biggest thing in my life. I love doing that. I mean, as far as my career is concerned, I just have this creative nature, and I love being part of a new song, and a new record, where there's nothing, you create something. I love doing that. More than traveling and more than concerts, which I love too, because I love people. And love singing for them, and I have a great time with my band. We love doing that, but I love creating a new song. It's always been like a passion in my life. I've never changed, in that respect.
You got a website right now people can check you out?
Yeah, I got my Facebook page and a website where I have a little bit of my journey from the Bronx into faith, because people always ask me, they say, what's an Italian guy from the Bronx Catholic boy from the Bronx. How do you get nominated into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? How does that happen? So I put up a story up on the website. You could check it out. And I have, like, albums and pictures. And you know how they do. Yeah. I got my grandson, my granddaughter. They help me out.
So how do you get into the website? Give us a name.
Well, the website would be the official Dion, officialdion.com, and Facebook. Gee, I don't know all that stuff. I guess it's Facebook, Dion.com. I don't know. It's you got me.
All right, we'll look it up and put it on later in the show.
Okay.
All right, listen, if there's somebody down on his luck right now, what's your advice to him?
Well, there's two things that I find incredibly valuable in my life. One is finding somebody you could talk to. It's so important that you find somebody that you could talk to. The best CEOs in the country don't do life alone. Everybody has like an outside reference to their life. In the 12-step program, we call it a sponsor. And that's invaluable to run things past somebody and get somebody's feedback. Because doing life alone, I don't know how you could do it. It's barbaric. The other thing is prayer. You ask God for help and even to lead you into the, finding the right person to talk to. So both those things, I think, because everybody hits bumps in the road, man. It's like, I get it. And your heart goes out to people. They're struggling with all kinds of situations. But prayer and talking to somebody, don't isolate. That's my thing.
Thank you for being on Connor's Corner. We really appreciate it. And we hope everything goes well for you for the rest of your life.
Well, thank you. And you too, man. All right?
All right. We look forward to seeing you.